Okay, now the Board of Select meeting is over. I'd like to introduce two representatives from Anchor Engineering, which I think you already know. Mark Zessen, one of the owners, and Kevin Brindle. Both of these gentlemen have been with us for several years working on opportunities for various stations and transfer stations and other bridge projects. I guess the biggest thing I want to say this evening in preparation for Mark and Kevin to make their presentation about where we are with the station now, what's left to do, what the operations we perceive will be like, and what it means to us going forward, is that I am extremely happy to be able to be here tonight to bring this presentation to you. There were times, believe me, over the past several years when I thought that we would come up broke. We are very grateful to everyone who participated and helped us in getting to this point, both on all sides of the aisle, from the people of the state who stepped to the table, for all of the input that we got from all the people in the public that worked on it. I want to thank you very much for everything that you've done to help make this possible. Secondly, I want to let you know that this is a work in progress. What you're going to see tonight is our best effort to try to start this program on a constructive, positive, equal, fair note. Changes will no doubt come. Changes will have to be fine-tuned as we get into the program, into the operations, and see where they can be made better. Certainly where they can be made better financially. Now we think what we're going to propose, what Mark is going to discuss, has paid a lot of attention to the things that were wrong with the old station. This is going to be pretty much a state-of-the-art location, which will require control. It will require fairness. It will require diligence. It will require effort. It will require respect. It will require everything that you will want as a product, a favorable product in your town. This is yours, and we want you to be not only the recipient of the service. We want you to help us continue to do it the way that you need to have it done, the way that you want it done, and the way that it will just be with us for a very long time and hopefully operating efficiently. I am extremely grateful to everyone who really helped make this possible. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Paul. Can you use that up a little bit? Is it working? Sure. Yeah. You're good. You're fine. As Paul said, my name is Mark Zessen. I'm one of the principals of Anchor Engineering. Kevin Brindle, who's the site designer for this project, is also here. We're going to talk about things moving forward, including possible fee structure changes. We're about 40% of the way done with the actual construction at the transfer station right now. Most of the work to date has been on capping the landfill, regrading the landfill to the proper slopes. But the retaining walls are in will create the grade separation for the containers to accept the recyclables and waste materials below. And then in the near future, you'll see the canopies over those containers going up, and then the actual other buildings and sheds that are going to be on site. And hopefully also those areas that have been topsoil will start to turn green soon.
If that is acceptable to everyone,
sure.
That's, I can step out of the way and take a look at it.
All right, so as I said earlier, we're going to talk about the possible fee structure as well as the operations, as Paul said, and give you an update as to where we're at in terms of the overall costs. You may have heard it before, but the new transfer station is going to take many more types of recyclables and separate bins, as well as what the state would refer to as universal waste, or things like fluorescent light bulbs and electronics, batteries, things that shouldn't really be in the regular trash. This is a list of those items, complete list of the items. We have containers for the trash, or municipal solid waste, as the state would refer to it. Roll-off containers with compactor motors for them, for the single-stream recyclables, which would include everything that's appropriate to put in a single-stream container, which included cardboard, newspaper, magazines, food and beverage containers, glass, plastics, and metals. Those materials would be hauled up to Hartford and separated at the recycling facility on Murphy Road, not in Hartford, under the control of the Connecticut Resources Recovery Authority. The roll-off containers were for accepting loose materials, including construction and demolition debris, and oversized municipal solid waste, such as furniture, rugs, and mattresses. Those are things that are non-processable. They can't be brought to the incinerator in Hartford or waste energy plant. All this stuff on the top, your regular trash, is suitable for going to the Mid-Connecticut Resources Recovery Facility or Waste Energy Facility, where that material, the heat from that spins steam turbine generators to generate power and put it back into the electric grid. Most of your demolition material at this point is going to end up going to out-of-state landfills, or there's only one in-state landfill operating left that will take bulky waste and demolition debris. Most of the time that is going to out-of-state landfills. Yeah, we'll have separate containers for metals. Those will typically in this area handled by a scrap dealer like Calamari. Spare containers for roll-off tires, consumer electronics. There'll be signage, and you may have heard there's been quite a bit of effort to remove covered electronics from the waste stream. It's been on 60 Minutes and other news media where there are heavy metals. Some of those are valuable, and some of them are just things that you wouldn't want in the normal waste stream. And so there's a real state-wide push, or nationwide push to remove those electronics from the waste stream. Both small things in the big old televisions, the 4 flat screens, those enormous things, get them out of the trash. There'll be separate new double-walled containers for waste oil, waste antifreeze, auto batteries. There'll be other smaller boxes, as I said earlier, for fluorescent light bulbs, rechargeable batteries. There'll be an area to take appliances with or without fluorocarbons. The fluorocarbons would be removed and then sent on to the scrap material. Used propane tanks, and then other land clearing debris. Clean wood and leaves. Clean wood, we expect in the next few years there to be an effort to also recycle dirty wood and send both some of the clean wood, which isn't made into mulch, as well as dirty wood to a wood-fired power plant that's under construction right now in Plainfield. So some of this material in the future, the demolition debris, may end up going out with some of the wood and also being used for resource recovery efforts. This is the so-called Baumgartner property. The state park is over here on the right on this map. The entranceway is going to be pretty much where it always has been. It's convenient, also where the easement is, but it's very good in terms of sight lines, so we get approval from the Department of Transportation to improve the entranceway through their encroachment permit process. As it ended up, there's not a lot of actual capping work, but there is restoration work going on this property here to the right, which is actually part of the state park. This berm here, or these lines here, are representing the elevation changes for berm, which Kevin's a landscape architect and he's done his design a landscaping plan there on the berm to buffer the facility from the riverside, especially during the winter months when the deciduous trees there don't have leaves on them. So you'd also expect to see those trees going in the near future as well. Just like we expect to see the grass turning green, we'll expect to see those planting of both evergreens and deciduous trees in the back. What's going to happen is your normal user would come in this way, come up to a checkpoint where it would be validated that the sticker, the user sticker, is on the vehicle for use. And then you'd be directed, these early containers are going to be the most commonly used ones for household MSW and recyclables, and then the other containers down the line for scrap metals. In the bulky waste, there'll be several containers in this area for those. There'll be some spare container area over here, appliance areas, the sheds for handling waste oil and antifreeze. There's actually going to be a shed to actually house the equipment, so it doesn't have to stay outside in the future. In this area over here, the grayish tan will be with a brush, and leaves will be collected for recycling. So people, basically it's a one-way traffic pattern around these here. If you've been there, if driven by, you see the retaining walls. These lines are where the retaining walls are. There's a grade separation. The containers will be down on the low side of the wall, so you can back in here, take your waste or recyclables, throw them over the railing into the containers below. Some people may not like the fact that there's railings. Both building code and OSHA require there to be railings. Many people have been hurt at many facilities falling in. We had worked on one case where we hadn't designed it, but somebody who had been to the transfer station, was actually a local contractor, fell into the container. He admitted he had been to the facility over 100 times and wasn't paying attention. The net result was when he fell in, he sued the town of Branford and won. They settled because they knew they had no real case because it didn't meet either OSHA or the building code to not have railing. So it's a kind of thing where I've talked to I'll name names, Phil. Most of you probably know Phil. It's like most operators, they don't like the railing. Well, I don't either not have to not like it or like it. All they know is to meet the building code and OSHA, you need the railing. So people have to get used to throwing stuff over a 42-inch high railing so that they don't fall in. We're going to discourage people and encourage the town to also discourage people from backing up on their pickup truck and putting one foot on the railing and one foot on the bed of their pickup truck. It sounds silly, but I've seen lots of people do it. It's not the rail. It's not a foot rail. It's to stop you from being above the elevation of the rail. So anyways, that's what you're going to see. There'll be a canopy in this whole area. Because one of the things that the state has, some people may say, why is there going to be a canopy over all these containers? Well, the state regulates stormwater off many industrial facilities. One of the industrial facilities are waste processing and handling facilities. And some of the worst of all the statewide industrial facilities in terms of stormwater runoff have been from waste handling facilities, which is sort of obvious. They're not generally the neatest place, despite people's housekeeping efforts to begin with. But if you have a lot of things that are outside, exposed to the weather, then when it does rain, the runoff from those tends to contain not only organic compounds or food waste, which puts nutrients into the water, which the state and the wildlife don't like, but also puts there's a potential for a lot of residual metals and other contaminants to go off of the water. So the reason that the whole thing is going to have a canopy over it is to prevent as much rainfall from going into the containers that are holding the waste for days, sometimes weeks. So that's one of the main features that will be different that you'll see or noticeable in the next few weeks. If you've seen the plans that we had presented earlier showing the canopy, it's a similar type. It's really the same reason that if you've ever been to the Crepra or Connecticut River estuary household has waste days, they have a canopy there, and it's really the same exact reason that the old days nobody had a canopy over their gas tank station. Well, now you can't find a gas station, well, rarely will you find a gas station where the pumps are exposed. But technically, those types of fueling operations are also supposed to have the normal canopy. So this canopy here that you'll see is very much like you'd expect to see at your local gas station. All right, in terms of costs, the overall budget, the original budget, these are the line items off the town budget. I'll go right to the $3,205,000 was the original all-in, including finance cost, landfill closure cost, permitting, testing and inspection of the landfill, transfer station testing and inspection, permits, transfer station construction and contingencies. To date, the contractor and other services, us and others have billed the town about $1.225 million. We're expecting to remaining costs from the contractor and us on inspection and testing at $1.5 million. So like I said, we're about 40% of the way there, even though they've done some work that hasn't been invoiced as we have. So the subtotal on those are $2.7 million. We have a contingency which we don't expect to be used at about $200,000, bringing that up to $2,975,000. The transfer station financing, originally there was $230,000. We think that's going to be quite a bit less because of the town's actually financing less than what was presented in the original budget back because of the use of some other monies that had been put aside prior for the landfill closure, as well as interest rates and possible shorter duration of some of the financing on the interim financing. So that may be half of that number, or maybe 60% of that number. So in the end, we'd expect this number to not get fully used and around 200 not to get fully used. So we expect the total to come in at about 2.9 to 3 million rather than over 3.2 million as was originally anticipated.
May I interrupt?
Sure. Yeah.
Am I understanding you to say that you think this is going to be coming in under budget by about a couple $100,000?
Yep. Yes. Both the construction side is going to come in probably less, and by in the six figures, somewhere between 100 and 200, and whether it's 50,000 or 100, I'm not a financial expert, but my understanding is interest rates continue to be low, and the construction financing is low, and not only that, rather than financing the whole thing, there had been, I think, 400,000, I think was the number that the town actually already had, that when the people helping with the financing, the broker and the bond attorney were saying you only have to bond the whole thing. Well, you actually are taking some money that you had set aside, and not so your financing, your construction phase financing is less. And we've used some of the contingency because landfills do settle and things do occur in construction, and you can't anticipate everything, but we're not anticipating using all the contingency. And the fact of the matter is when it was bid out, contractors are still, the prices were still pretty good when they came in. So the bottom line, Mr. Munson, it is going to be less by a couple $100,000. Yeah. But everything does cost money. The town has been spending money on the operation, and really having a pretty on the lower end of what most towns charge for a used sticker at $30 a year. And so we talked about where that is. The income from the sale of recyclables. Generally, the commodities market, things like paper and cardboard have been very strong. They've been very strong for about 15 years. There was really only that time period that we're all aware of at the end of 2008 and early 2009. Commodities really plummeted. A lot of recyclers were sitting on literally mountains of cardboard or piles of scrap iron. And those days are, you know, a few years behind us now. And for the most part, metals and cardboard, aluminum is very, very strong. The plastics are very, very strong. It takes a lot of milk jugs or laundry detergent jugs to make a ton of plastics, but when you do get that ton of plastics, they're worth quite a bit of money. And so what happens is you give those to CRA and they rebate the town afterwards. They have an arrangement with their operator that's a cost sharing based on how much it costs to operate in a cost sharing formula that I'm not even sure for each of their commodities. I've seen a lot of those agreements for others, but I know sufficient to say they have a cost sharing structure and then a rebate structure to the municipals. So you pay them a little bit for the trash, you give them the recyclables, and then they give you money back. Generally, that's been $20-something a ton on average for your recyclables. Right after the so-called crash, it was down into the single digits per ton. We expect that, I'll talk about it in a minute, to remain strong, and it has been very strong. Even though the general market's been okay, the market for recyclables has been very strong. Another thing that we looked at, lots of different options for, I'm going to show you a sample of this, is we've noticed that there's a lot of bulky waste and demolition material that are brought there, and generally those are harder to get rid of. Most, as I mentioned earlier, disposed of out of state. And if it's the kind of thing where few people may frequent it, I think it's reasonable to consider charging them on a per trip basis, and so we'll talk about that in a minute. So one of the things, get to what we think would be reasonable and move in the direction that most of the municipalities do go in, is rather than charging $30 and current per sticker charge would be to target something more like $50 a year. And that $50, if we've been selling somewhere between 2,200 and 2,500 stickers a year, that would generate about $125,000 in revenue. And rather than just saying that you can bring all the bulky waste or furniture or construction debris with a life, it would be to say, if you're a commercial facility or a commercial operator, you're a roofer, a local roofer, and you're going to come here all the time, that you would pay $10 each trip, or get 12 trip vouchers for your bulky waste for $100. And remind people on here what is bulky waste: furniture, rugs, carpet, box springs, mattresses, construction and demolition debris, and then unacceptable materials that they shouldn't be bringing these things. As a reminder, liquid waste, hazardous waste, asbestos, or any Connecticut regulated waste. And as I got to before, that all your electronic devices be not brought to under with your bulky waste.
I have a question, if you don't mind. The voucher applies to the residents and to the commercial people. Am I correct?
But what we're talking about there would be that if you have a residential vehicle, you could bring the bulk with that, right? And it was only for commercial, or pickup trucks or rack body, but not, they wouldn't allow any more six-wheel dump trucks to come, period. They would just have to make their own arrangements, go somewhere else.
Yeah, so it's no different than right now when you're paying $30, gives you the chance to drop off your MSW, and if you have a pouch, so you throw that in there too, whatever. So you can visit for both the MSW and the bulky waste for $50. It's the commercial folks that we are looking to separate. Anybody who is commercial in nature has to pay on a per trip basis $10 each in voucher.
So if they have a commercial plate,
It's a commercial business, not a plate. It's commercial. It's commercial business.
so if
If you have a pickup truck with a commercial plate on it,
yeah.
that's what you use to run around with. When you sign up for your sticker, you'll have to show us the identification and the registration and so on, and where that you're in town, and you will get your sticker. As long as you have your sticker, then you can use your bulky waste and your MSW.
Unlimited
Yes.
$50.
Yes.
Well, I could see a commercial person deciding to use his pickup truck to bring his stuff. I mean, you know, that's,
Well, if it's a commercial business, if it's a commercial, then, then we're obviously going to charge the idea is to charge the $10 per trip for bulky waste. So in other words, for him to get in with bulky waste, he would pay the $10.
so only commercial people in town would be allowed to get a voucher, or commercial people out of?
No, commercial people in town.
So you'd have to have a sticker first. You'd have to have a $50 sticker first, and then get your voucher. Right?
That would be from the commercial standpoint, if they're going to use their MSW, if they're going to, yes, then that would be the case.
Say if you had a pickup truck that was registered to Joe's Roofing LLC, you would get the $50 sticker, and then you could use that for trash and recyclables. But every time you wanted to come with bulky waste, if you were bringing a few roofing shingles every other week, you'd have to bring a voucher every time. But if it was registered to a private citizen and it didn't say Joe's Roofing on the truck, there's unless you're going to exclude all pickup trucks, which in a town like Haddam would be, in my opinion, difficult to do, or charge everybody with a pickup more. You have to draw the line somewhere, and we believe that if it's registered in a business entity, it's probably being used. And with combination plates, it's trickier because you can have a combination plate with an LLC, or you can have a combination plate on your private vehicle. So it's really who owns it, and is it obviously a commercial vehicle or not.
I just see a big loophole, that's all.
There's a lot of sole proprietors out there where their trucks would be registered under their name, not under their business name, especially for tax reasons and everything else. I think that would be a problem.
It's a big
I think
loophole.
that's a difficult enforcement.
Well, the enforcement is something we're going to have to assess, make sure we have the proper information when the sticker and/or voucher is sold. But moreover, we're going to have one individual who's going to be responsible for letting everybody into the station. That's going to be their sole job. They're going to be the ones who are going to be monitoring and making sure that the proper sticker, proper type of trash and so on is being brought in. So, it's like I said before, it's a work in progress, but that's what we're going to be trying to monitor.
And the present plan is that there's no control over where the waste is generated on the voucher part. So if I'm a contractor in town, I have my contractor truck, but I'm doing work in Cromwell, Durham, wherever it happens, Middletown, as long as I have a voucher, I can still dispose of my trash in Haddam. Yeah, I don't know if that's right or wrong.
Yes.
That's not the
If you live in town
policy.
and you have commercial stuff, you can deposit.
Why would we be allowing outside town waste as well? So,
That's $10, that's cheap.
I mean, that's
$600 per ton.
the area which is set. I mean, it should only be waste that is generated within our town boundaries.
It was generated by a town resident. And I don't know if that,
For $10 a voucher, and I have a nice big mason dump or whatever, and I do 3 trips over a weekend, I mean, that's a cheap deal. I mean, that doesn't seem fair because one little guy could have a small load and the next guy could have a larger load. Is that equaling out to what we as the taxpayers are then shipping that waste out for?
I don't know if it's equaling out.
And we may not know that, obviously, if it's the first year of practice where you're trying or something like that.
Right now, everything's been gone, all this has been acceptable to be delivered there under the current sticker, and so,
I thought you couldn't bring outside waste.
it says no outside waste, but I don't know how you'd know if the roof and shingle came off of somebody in this room's house or somebody who lived in Middletown's house, if it's the...
Well, you need a permit for a roof in the town, so you should bring the permit to town hall to buy the voucher.
Voucher, absolutely. I mean, I think we're gonna generate a lot for $10. I mean,
Right now,
especially if you're not charging by a weight or a particular size.
our observation now is that the local contractors are definitely using the facility at the flat rate.
Yeah, it's a bargain.
But we don't know where it's coming from.
Right.
Well, not yet, because there's other things besides shingles. Certainly, you could make an effort in one area like shingles, but if the guy says, well, I tore down this somebody's shed and rebuilt them a new shed, it's essentially impossible to say, well, that shed came from Haddam, or it came from an adjacent town, something like a couch. I don't know how Phil or somebody who works for Phil can say that couch came from Haddam.
I mean, I think something on demolition debris, I think that, we probably do need a building permit, but I think that would be controlled by something through the building department that says, your voucher, however these vouchers are, wherever they are purchased, is to, offset that by, hey, this is the town clerk to get your voucher along with your building permit.
What's your experience in other towns that have done this? Do they just turn their back to and say, we gotta eat so many tons of material every month?
There are some towns that do have the low flat rate still. There are some towns that just have a higher flat rate. There are some towns that charge per trip, every trip, and actually have somebody evaluating each vehicle on a vehicle-by-vehicle basis in terms of what the quantities of materials are. I mean, we have one facility that literally the person there says, this is the rate sheet, and I'm putting, this vehicle and this having a quarter yard or 3/4 of a yard. Scales are expensive to install and then monitor. And for a 2-day-a-week operation, the scale, everybody can say, what something weighs, but even scales are difficult because unless people are going to go around the loop a few times, if you have recyclables, people say, well, I don't want to pay for the recyclables, or I don't want to pay you to take my metal, because I mean, why should I pay you to take my old radiator when you're actually going to get more money? So then you end up, there's no one-size-fits-all system. Certainly, the vouchers on a per-trip basis, I think, is moving in the right direction and getting the contractors used to the idea that they have to pay each time rather than paying for on a flat rate. Because it's pretty obvious talking to people who operate the facility, the halls in this facility, or just our own observations that you can see that there are contractors that do come in. It's not a huge number, but there are contractors that make repeat trips.
Mark, what could be done to prohibit or to control that habitual contractor who, as is the case that Cheryl just said that he's working in town, but he's going to Middletown all the time, and you're seeing him come in all the time with Middletown jobs. Is that something that can be controlled?
Well, certainly having no out-of-town waste, and just saying that is something that you can't do. All the waste has to be generated, or have the origin within the borders. Then the policing of that, you could refuse them. Certainly, I'm aware of a lot of cases where, in the case of trash, it's easy because you just cut open the bag and look at it, and if there's mail or magazines from another town, you say, well, it's unlikely that somebody brought it home from work and a whole bunch of mail. If it's garbage from out of town, that for whatever reason they're either doing dump runs for somebody else, or that's easier to police than something like couches but you could charge more per voucher or limiting the size of the vehicles. I mean, the town's already made the decision to not allow rack bodies or 6-wheel dumps, which we've seen some of those there now, which are going to have the capacity to carry a lot more weight, a lot more volume of materials. So just getting rid of those are going to be should reduce the amount of material coming here. Those people should basically be hauling it direct to the volume reduction facilities that are designed to accommodate them.
Sean, are you here somewhere?
Not yet, please.
You left, okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know that Calamari now has a total recycling center, and they charge about $60 to $65 a ton if you bring material then they'll take anything, construction debris and whatever. So, and I'm not advocating because I may have to use that voucher myself someday, but it seems to me, if we don't know where it's coming from, we can't control it, and you're only talking about 6-wheel dump trucks that might have to come into that voucher program.
No, they're not. The 6-wheelers are out. It's period.
You can't, even with a commercial dump truck, you can't go in that transfer station with a 6-wheel truck. So you'd have to be in a pickup truck.
That's correct. Or a 2-yard, 2/3-yard mason.
Pardon me?
Or a 2-yard mason truck.
It's small.
Have you done any actual in-the-field analysis of who is actually using the bulky waste? How many commercial trucks?
We have not
How
counted.
many pickups with combo licenses?
We have not counted them on
So this is speculative in terms of how many coupons you're going to sell and what kind of revenue is going to be generated by that.
right.
You anticipate, did you say $24,000? That means 2,880 dumps.
That's
That's the equivalent number of trucks that will come in a year, 18 a day,
If everybody bought the
based on the arithmetic.
right, if everybody bought it,
Also would be the subscription people who don't come to the dump on a regular basis, that would also be able to buy a voucher. So they would just come to jump, you know, a washing machine or a couch or whatever, without having to buy a voucher. Excuse me, without having to buy a sticker.
I'm confused now.
Yeah, and too.
You just said that the people that have a sticker could come in with washing machines or anything, anytime. But now you need a sticker for the washing machine.
he's talking about subscription people.
Let's talk about the subscription.
What's the
What's the subscription?
Would you and I, if you have it picked up at your house, if you have your trash picked up at your house, and you have a bulky waste need that's not picked up, you can buy a voucher and come to the transfer station.
Without buying a $50
Yes,
sticker.
without buying a $50 sticker.
If you have normal curbside subscriptions to All Waste or Pete's, but you have one college, which they wouldn't take at the curb.
I've got a question to ask. I think I've been here in this town long enough to know that I'm the oldest guy here in this room right now. I'm 89, and I can remember when Ernie Miles used to walk down from the center of Higginham to the town dump that we have now with 2 5-gallon cans of waste oil and gasoline from Larry's Auto or Cabino's Auto, which is now a gas station next to the dentist shop, and torch the dump, okay? And at that time, everybody went to the dump and deposited. I'm aggravated now. I go to the town hall and I buy a sticker to go to the town dump. And I sit there and I watch cars and trucks come in without a sticker on their window and nobody stopping from dumping there. Has anything been done or going to be done to stop these setbacks from coming in and using our dump?
As I mentioned before.
And how are you going to enforce it?
Okay, as I mentioned before, we're going to have one person whose only job is going to be to monitor and police the people who are coming in and work with them on the swap shop. It's going to be a person who will be a very friendly bouncer. Okay, seriously, and they're going to be extremely firm. So right now we don't have that. See, you know, the sad thing now is that we have something like a 1952 Studebaker. I mean, it's all broken. We don't pay any attention to it. We don't have any respect for it. We're not controlling anything. Things will be different as far as controlling people who use it.
Is that a promise?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Why can't we get the
answered my
bouncer
question.
now?
Yeah, why can't, yeah, because it's,
I mean, you hire the bouncer now.
We just budgeted for it, and as soon as the budget is approved, we'll have the money to hire a bouncer.
Just a quick question, this may actually be more of a Paul question. The convenience of getting the stickers and the vouchers. And I know you mentioned the town I know the town of Branford, you can actually buy your vouchers online, or your sticker. I don't think they do vouchers, but they do stickers. How is the town progressing in making it easier for people to get the vouchers and their $50 sticker?
We're not. No, frankly, we're not, because you need to check everything. You want to make sure
In the town of
that
Branford, you actually, it matches up to your registered vehicle or your tax ID number. So you put that in.
well, that's something that maybe we may be able to do in the future, and as I said, this is a
I
work in
just-
progress. But right now, we don't
Not
have
so
the
much for
capabilities to
myself, I
do it.
mean, it's convenient for me to go to town, but there are a lot of people, and I know town hall is open late on a Thursday, but sometimes when all of a sudden it's July 1st, and you go, oops, I don't have my dump sticker, and our wonderful resident state trooper is standing there on the Monday of the year, because we couldn't make it to town hall, I mean, that's not real convenient for people, and I think with the age of technology, these things are very doable. Towns are doing it, they match up to the, you know, if you have a registered vehicle to the town, it's gonna match up to the assessor or the tax collector's records.
I think it's a good suggestion, and I do think we could
You know,
look
town
into it.
turns around and mails that stuff to you.
I think we could look into it and come up with a program sometime, put it on the website. But I think for practical purposes, I'd like to start this thing without as
Absolutely, I'm
You
sure
know,
there's a learning
yeah,
curve, but I just
yeah.
like to look